Hey, everybody, and welcome back to Short Film Saturday. I'm your host, Jonathan Moody, and as you can see, we're doing it through Zoom because we're supposed to do it in the studio, but we've been very, very busy. And yes, it is not Christmas time, Paul, but still, he has one of his old pictures up.
It's Santa
Um,
cows. It's always time
and
for Santa cows.
all right. Well, we are talking about a movie that goes a short film that goes way, way back to 2000. That is 24 years ago, where Mr. Luke Greenfield had a feature film that he was trying to raise money for, and then unfortunately that fell through, but they had raised enough money to do a short film. So they decided that they were going to do a short based on one of the scenes that was in the movie. So they just kind of took that one scene in the movie and just instead put it into a short film.
Almost like a proof of concept kind of thing.
And not really. They just used it as just like the short film. They didn't
Hmm.
say this wasn't the right hook was never the title of the other movie that they were doing. So Luke and his crew got together. There's a great book called Short Films 101 that goes into detail about it. It gives more information. And it's basically what happened was, they just shot this thing in in the bar. And I think it took a matter of like a weekend that they were able to shoot it. And I mean, if you look at
Huh.
this movie, it's got action, it's got
Yeah, they needed
comedy,
stunts.
they did stunts. I mean, they went all out. I mean, it does feel like they took a budget that could have been used for a feature film budget and put it toward a short. They had
I mean,
music that was not that was big music. If you listen to some of it, it was like some music that you would hear in bars, actually,
I
interestingly
mean,
enough.
they busted up a bar. I can't
Mm.
imagine they just rolled into somebody's bar and said, "Hey, we're gonna shoot this here. Let us break it up for you, please."
Yeah, so they end up basically yeah, destroying the bar or whatever. But I thought it was a pretty funny movie. I didn't hear you laugh as much, but I don't know. I wasn't watching you look at it, so I didn't know if you're chuckling like just not laughing out loud,
No, I
you
mean
know.
it was all right. It like you mentioned, it's not the kind of movie that would be made today.
Nope.
Um, you know, I didn't really care for most of the guys. They seemed like a bunch of brotards, but
I think that was the point.
yeah,
The only one I
but
really liked was the friend of him, the good-looking friend
yeah, yeah.
who seemed to be more sympathetic and sweet
But
and even the
you
main
know,
guy, I liked him a little bit. He just was a little bit too much at
at
times.
least the women came off pretty well. I mean, they weren't
Yeah.
taking any shit.
They
I mean, they
weren't
fought
taking
back.
shit. They fought back. They kicked ass, but by the end of the day, he lost the girl that he originally wanted, which she was a lesbian, so she wasn't gonna be with him anyway. And then I guess the other girl lost her because and was she a lesbian? I don't know, because there's that little thing at the end. So was she
Which
like
didn't make a lot
bisexual?
of sense, but
Didn't make any sense. That was, I guess, supposed to be like a twist, kind of thing. Like, I'd preferred if they hadn't made her into like a straight lesbian character, that you know what I mean? Because they could have made her into a bi
I
character,
mean,
and
yeah,
that
she
would have
could have
made
been bi.
sense.
I mean,
But it sort of made it look like she was a lesbian, like
because of the stereotype of the way she was
the
dressed
dressed
and
and
she
the
looked.
hair, everything. Yeah, which was a stare, especially in the 2000s. Remember, this was made 3 years after like Chasing Amy, and
Mhm.
Chasing Amy had it talked about a lot of those stereotypes and stuff. So, but I thought it was a pretty funny short film. It was something that, like you said, like, and I even told you before, it would not be made today because of a lot of the stuff. I mean, but then again, the fighting back would be very, and back then was not, I guess, wasn't as common anyway, like, or whatever.
Yeah,
Maybe a
yeah,
little
no,
bit.
that was cool. I dug that. I dug the fight scenes. I thought those were really well done.
Hmm.
Very believable looking.
and they were
Um,
fun.
yeah,
And
I didn't know whose bar that was, but man, I was like, they're doing some
I'm
damage.
pretty sure like whoever's bar that was didn't have a few of those things, like that light that they took the was it the pool cue and broke in half. I don't think that that bar probably had that. That probably
Mm.
was brought in for the production so that they could do that. But I'm not
Those
sure.
things are not cheap either,
I
man. I tell
know.
you.
So unless they already prepaid and said we'll have another one on standby for you if we get
Or
this.
maybe they had a deal. Maybe the guy was like, I'm getting some new stuff. So if you want to break some things, here are the things you can break.
Yeah. So like I said, this was something that was like basically a short film. It's not a proof of concept, meaning like most proof of concepts mean that you're going to turn that short into a feature length film. That was not the plan. The plan was just a calling card to show to other, companies. Well, after this, Rob Schneider's company saw this short film, loved it, thought Luke did a really good job directing, and they asked him to direct The Animal, which was not the greatest hit of a movie, but it led to other projects, including The Girl Next Door, which is one of my favorite movies of all time. So I've been a huge Luke Greenfield fan.
I never heard of him.
I like him and I like Joe Nussbaum. And those are guys that were listed in this, and some other people. There's some people that were in that Short Films 101 book that I was just like, once I saw their shorts, because some of them were online and whatnot. And the right hook was not online for a long time. So it was kind of
And
harder to find at
it's
first.
a very clever title too, because the double entendre there. It's like, you got to have the right hook to get in with these girls, but then he's also needs to have a right hook.
Right. And the right, yeah. So, and he goes, I found my hook. His hook was literally punching a girl in the face, which would not be cool today,
Right,
obviously.
right.
But, the way that it's portrayed isn't like, oh, the women are helpless and the men are like assholes or whatever. It was portrayed as, sort of comic and the girls fighting back and kicking ass, not just fighting back, but literally just, walloping the dude or whatever,
Mhm.
and stuff. So it was, I thought it was pretty funny. I always did. And, I I think I can see, like I said, I can see why people took a look at that and said, okay, this guy can direct a movie for Hollywood. And so I always like to point out those kind of things when we see these kind of movies that these short films that some of them lead to Hollywood jobs. Like a lot of people I think feel like people have to make feature films or something to get found or whatever. But sometimes just the right short with the right hook, you
Did
know,
did
can
he
do it.
write it as well?
I believe so. He might have wrote it with the guy. So yeah, he wrote it with the guy who plays the main guy. So Dave
Hmm.
Scotty
Bruno.
and him, Bruno. Yeah, they both wrote it together. I think they wrote the original script together, if I'm
Okay.
correct too. So,
And the movie never that he wanted to get made in the first place never got made.
no, and I'll tell you more about that. I don't want to kind of go into that here, but I'll tell you more about that personally after this thing. But, aside from that, I mean, it was a really fun movie. It had some great cinematography. The cinematographer was Kenneth Stipe, and I mean, he's been directing TV shows, and I wonder if this was his first um project or whatever. Might have been looking down. The Right Hook. He had done a bunch of short films. He directed or not directed, DP'd a lot. So, starting in 1994. So the guy's been working steadily for a while. So, I mean, they hired a really good crew, really good, music, really good everything. Like, and that's literally what you have to do. You have to create something that feels like it could have been a 90-minute movie or something, or part
That was
of.
like 10 minutes, 12 minutes, something like
Yeah, it
that.
was like 10 to 12 minutes, and it was like I think it was 12, and it was literally like, like it felt like a scene in a movie, you know, and that's what they wanted to portray. So,
Hmm.
they
No,
want
it's
to
all
take
right.
that and
I
do
liked it.
that. So, yeah. So, if you guys get a chance, I will leave the link to it down in the info here if you guys want to see it. But I think you guys will get a kick out of this if you get a chance to watch it. Just know, remember, like I said, it's not something that would be made today. Not at
Hmm.
all. So if it's something that might trigger you or something that you might feel, because it's not meant to be really serious or anything at all. And the guys are complete and total jerks, which is sort of what the
The
whole
point.
movie is the
Yeah.
point. Yeah. The only guy that's nice, or whatever. I love his seat like line. And that guy's famous too. If I'm correct, was that Dan Gothier? Yeah, Dan Gothier. He was in like Son-in-Law and a ton of other big time movies, and he always plays like usually plays the douchebag. So for him to kind of get a chance to play like the nice, nice guy or whatever, but he's been in, I think, like he was in Son-in-Law. I think he was in, like Melrose Place and other shows back in the 90s and whatnot. So he did
Yeah.
really
I
well for
never
himself.
watched any of that stuff,
Yeah,
so
that was never
didn't
your kind of
recognize him.
thing, but you didn't recognize him. But I did when I first watched it. I was like, oh my God, I know that guy, especially from Son-in-Law, like Pauly Shore is hilarious.
Oh God.
Um, oh God, yes. So anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this little short review. And tune uh in 2 weeks. It'll be Paul's, and we're about to go record that right now. So it'll be another Zoom. Until then, everybody, have a good one.
Ah.